Hey everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video, and we're going to talk about the big slate of DC animated content that was recently announced yesterday on May the 19th 2021. Now this slate of content accompanies the pending release of the two-parter of the Batman The Long Halloween comic book adaptation. Part 1 is due for release on June the 22nd and part 2 is due for release on July the 27th, and trailers for both parts have been released online. So we're now going to go over the main projects that have been announced most recently, and I'm just going to give my overall thoughts and feelings on them. So the first one, of course, is the Batman The Caped Crusader. Now, this is the latest in the infinite, ever-going Batman animated content, and it's coming to both HBO Max and Cartoon Network. It'll be worked on by Matt Reeves, who we all know is, of course, directing the live-action adaptation of Batman in 2022, starring Robert Pattinson. J.J. Abrams will be involved. As we all know, he of course directed both the recent Star Wars and Star Trek rebootings, and perhaps the most positive part of this announcement is the inclusion of Bruce Timm, who, as we all know, worked together with Paul Dini to produce the 1992 animated series, many of which believe is still the best adaptation of Batman, both in terms of animation and live action as well. So in terms of the plot and the details, there wasn't really much to go on. Essentially, the statement that was given in the interviews was that it will delve deeper into the psychology of the characters. So really, this is familiar territory to what we've seen in so many of Batman adaptations, whether it be from animations to movies or video games. So there's not really too much, I would say, to get me overly enthusiastic about this project overall. The poster itself looks very good. It's very similar in tone artistically to the 1992 animated series, but there's not really a lot more to go on. So again, for me, I'm just a bit overly tired about the fact that we're getting yet again another Batman animated film. We could spend literally a whole hour going over the multiple films that we've got in terms of Batman. I've stated many times that we focus too much on Batman and we don't give enough spotlight to other characters involved. You know, where's your Aquaman movie? Where's your Green Lantern movie? We've had great previous ones, particularly of Wonder Woman as well, in the previous lore of DC animated movies. So why aren't we pushing on with those characters while we yet again going back to Batman as well? So I'm not overly enthusiastic about this project, but as with all of these projects, it is only a screenshot and posters that we've got primarily to go on. So I will reserve some judgment until I see a full-on trailer for this project overall. So nothing terrible, not overly negative, but I'm not really enthused overall about this because I just want to see animated movies concentrating on characters other than Batman. So the second big announcement in terms of the content was that we will get an animated adaptation of Injustice. Now, for many, this was the most exciting announcement within the slate of the DC content. We will finally see the adaptation of one of the most famous storylines within all of DC comics and content. This is, of course, the adaptation as well of the classic video game series, and for anybody who doesn't know, this is essentially the story of an alternate reality where the Joker destroys Metropolis with a nuclear bomb, killing Lois Lane and her unborn baby. Superman finds out and retaliates by killing Joker, and then goes on to assume a totalitarian dictatorship over the world. Now, to be honest, I'm surprised we haven't already seen an Injustice adaptation already. We've seen previously, of course, Elseworld stories within the DC continuity be animated to a very high production level, where we talk about both the Dark Knight Returns and the Flashpoint Paradox, two of the truly elite animated movies within all of DC, and I really expect Injustice to be on the same production level in terms of its scope and its maturity and its dark overall themes. Now, although the plot line is very simple, the overall story of Injustice is very multi-layered and I would say perhaps over convoluted. You are really introducing yourselves to the whole host of DC characters within the catalogue, and if you want to get a full-on idea of the exact scope of Injustice, you can go onto YouTube and watch all of the video game cutscenes together, which are all consolidated into one movie format, and it's around about 4 hours as well. So if you want to get the idea of the particular task, that's presented with them in terms of animating this storyline, then you can go and check that out as well. And it will be interesting to see how exactly they will condense that into presumably a 90-minute movie. You know, what key elements of the story will be retained. I've never been a fan of the dark, evil Superman. I think we've gone over it too much. You know, we're always afraid to go to that more positive, inspirational version of the character. I've covered this throughout when I talk particularly about the DCEU, but I could appreciate Injustice as a standalone Elseworld story, and I think it's a very good, compelling storyline overall. Now, when I look at this, I do ask, should they really do a two-part movie overall? I think it would be better served. We looked how well that served, of course, with the Dark Knight Returns. I think a two-part might be better served, or even better, it might have actually been served if they did an animated series. You know, I recently reviewed the likes of Castlevania, the Netflix adaptation, and I commented on how well that did to really immerse yourself in this dark, bold, mature, immersive world, right? And I think that might have been the preferred tactic to use for Injustice. I think it's better used as an animated series rather than an animated movie, because there's going to be certain aspects that they will take out. And again, will you please fans overall? Because fans are going to get super hyped about this project. They're going to be, of course, making comparisons to the video game cutscenes, as I mentioned before, and you're going to have to leave a lot of elements out, whether it be from the video games or the comics. So really, fans might be a bit disappointed when they come across this animated movie. I know a lot of fans were disappointed with the Batman Hush animated film, and they thought that left a lot of elements from that comic book storyline as well. So we'll wait and see overall. It may be, if this is very successful, that they may adapt Injustice 2, and again, you can check all of the cutscenes on YouTube as well, and that focuses primarily on the emergence of Brainiac and Supergirl and how the teams form together to take on Brainiac as well. So that's much more of a typical storyline than what we see with Injustice. So very interesting, and I just hope it's produced on the same level as what we saw with Flashpoint Paradox and The Dark Knight Returns. So out of all of the announcements that they announced here, that's probably the one that I'm most interested and excited about overall. We don't go on to the most controversial and, for me, the most disappointing project, and that is My Adventures with Superman. This has already been announced for 2 seasons to debut on HBO Max and the Cartoon Network, and it's essentially following the basic template of the Superman story, where we follow Clark Kent, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen discovering their roles as investigative reporters within the Daily Planet. So it's very familiar and I think a bit underwhelming overall. You know, we expect this similar narrative from any Superman story, really, and that's my point. It's only really showing us what we've kind of covered already, whether it's been from Lois and Clark, or Superman and Lois in particular as well, or the animated series Superman, the animated series, and Justice League Unlimited. So it's very familiar territory that we've seen already. Now, again, I will caveat this with the fact that we haven't seen the trailer, we haven't really got any kind of more detailed plot synopsis, so I'll give leeway in that front. But for me, I just feel that a Superman movie, particularly in animated form, I want to see more. I want to see much more of an expansive, enticing concept and thrill about Superman. You know, why can't we get a Superman in his prime, taking on all of his classic antagonists? We're always going back to Superman learning on the job, Superman developing his skills. How did he become Superman? Getting to grips with being Superman. You know, we've seen this so many times, you know, most successfully and most favourably for me in Smallville, but of course we go back to the DCEU again, where we were covering Superman getting to grips with who he is. You know, it's just disappointing, and I think it's just lame, and I think it's just lazy. You know, let's be a bit more imaginative about this. Let's really be bold. And like I said, let's really introduce many of Superman's villains that we haven't really seen a lot within live action or animated form overall. So I just think it's very underwhelming. Of course, we look at the one screenshot that they did release, and I've seen various opinions on this. For me, I just think it looks bad. It just has that cheap, tacky, low-rent anime style that we saw particularly with the She-Ra Netflix rebooting, and also with the Star Trek Lower Decks as well. And again, it's just disappointing. You really want to see effort and commitment and focus to a Superman animated story, which should be amazing, right? An animated series of Superman. There are so many elements and so many different takes that you can go within the character, so much potential you can tap into in terms of the character and his overall storyline, and we just get this, and it's just really disappointing. That's all I can say. And once again, we have to have a black Jimmy Olsen. Why do we have to do this? Again, we're just going back into the pitfalls of race changing these classic characters. You just antagonizing fans as well. So I'm just really disappointed. And again, I've seen many reactions on social media. They don't look the look of Lois with her short hair as well. Yeah, again, it's just underwhelming. Why would you adopt this approach? You know, there's doing something different in terms of trying to enhance the character, and it's just doing something different just because. And I hate that mindset. I hate that initiative. We've seen it so many times with all these other classic interpretations of the characters. You know, we saw recently the He-Man reveals, and that got a bit of criticism, but at the very least, it looks like He-Man. From the costume look, you know, particularly when we look at He-Man and the Battle Cat and the Sorceress and Skeletor, those look like the characters. This doesn't look like the characters, even though it's one screenshot. And again, why would you reveal your first impressions with this screenshot? Why not show us the Superman design, right? Is this deliberate? Maybe they're trying to lower expectations, so when we get a better look at Superman and the costume overall, maybe they can get us more on side with that impression overall. I don't understand, but I'm just not impressed. I just don't like this interpretation at all, and I just think it's another disappointing interpretation by Warner Brothers. They don't respect Superman, they don't understand him, or they don't want to understand him. And again, I think this is just churning out more Superman content, maybe just to withhold the rights of the character overall. But again, it's just disappointing to see such a lack of effort and concentration and focus on Superman in terms of this adaptation here. But as I've said before, when we see more screenshots, more trailers, then hopefully we can get much more of a better visualization of the character and where they're heading with this series, and then hopefully then that will convince me more and get me on board with this project overall. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the recent animated projects within DC that they announced yesterday on Wednesday, the 19th of May 2021. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Which one of these did you think impressed you the most? Was it Batman the Caped Crusader? Was it Injustice? Was it My Adventures with Superman? Let me know what you think in the comments. You can also check out on my channel various reviews of animated films. So the most recent ones I did review was the Justice League World War II Society. If you go a bit further back, you can check out my Superman Red Sun review as well. So look out for those on the channel. And yes, if we get further animated movies, of course, when the Batman The Long Halloween comes out, I'll review both parts. And when we get the full releases of all of these animated content that I've announced within this video, I will review those as well. So let me know what you think about all this within the comments. Please also hit those like and subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.